In the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains lies a town called Blackwood. It's the kind of place GPS signals seem to avoid, where time isn't measured by a clock, but by the turning of the oak leaves and the rising of the creek. In the center of the town's old square, right in the middle of the main intersection, stands a jagged, moss-covered pillar of limestone. Nobody knows who put it there, but for 200 years, the town has simply built its lives around it. Into this quiet world stepped Arthur Penhaligon. Arthur was a British civil engineer from London, sent by a massive infrastructure firm in D.C. He arrived in a sleek black SUV, carrying a laser mapping kit and a set of blueprints that promised to turn Blackwood into a transportation hub. A new four-lane interstate was scheduled to cut right through the town square. Arthur believed in efficiency. He believed that the shortest distance between 2 points was a straight line. To him, the limestone pillar in the road wasn't a landmark. It was a non-standard obstruction. "It's a simple demolition," Arthur told Silas, the owner of the local general store, as they sat on a porch overlooking the square. "We remove the rock, we level the grade, and Blackwood gets a bypass that brings in tourists and revenue. It's progress, Silas. Everyone wins." Silas took a slow sip of his black coffee and looked at the pillar. "Mr. Penhaligon, folks around here don't see that as a rock. That's the Sentinel. My granddaddy said it was there before the first cabin was notched. It's seen every wedding, every funeral, and every flood this valley has ever had. You don't move the Sentinel. The Sentinel decides when it's done with us." Arthur laughed, the dry, polite laugh of a man who trusted concrete over folklore. "Gravity and dynamite don't care about legends, Silas." The following Monday, the heavy crews arrived. The air in Blackwood was filled with the smell of diesel and the roar of jackhammers. Arthur stood by the pillar, his tablet in hand, marking the blast points. But as the drill bit touched the limestone, the sky turned a bruised purple. A sudden, violent wind whipped through the valley. Not a storm, just a single, focused gust that knocked the surveyors off their feet. The equipment didn't just stall, it died. Brand new excavators sat silent. Arthur's high-tech laser level showed an error message he'd never seen before. Out of bounds. "Atmospheric interference," Arthur grumbled, though his collar felt a bit too tight. That night, Arthur stayed at the Blackwood Inn, a drafty building from the 1800s. In the dead of night, he heard it. It wasn't the wind in the pines. It was a low rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat coming from deep underground. Thump, thump, thump. He looked out the window. The square was bathed in a strange, silvery mountain fog, and there, standing right beneath his window, was a shadow. It wasn't a person. It was the shape of the pillar, standing where it shouldn't be. Moved 50 yards from its spot in the road to the center of the inn's garden. Arthur ran outside, his breath hitching in the cold mountain air. The limestone felt warm to the touch, almost like skin. "What are you trying to say?" Arthur whispered. The answer didn't come in words. It came as a flash of memory, not his own, but the town's. He felt the desperation of the Great Depression, the joy of the 1945 parade, and the quiet peace of 1,000 Sunday mornings. He realized that the pillar wasn't just a rock, it was the anchor of the community. If he blasted it, the town wouldn't just lose a landmark, it would lose its gravity. It would drift away and become just another nameless exit on a highway. The next morning, the construction foreman found Arthur sitting on the base of the pillar, sharing a thermos of coffee with Silas. The blueprints were covered in red ink. "The interstate is going to have to loop," Arthur said, his voice tired but steady. "We're going to build a scenic bypass around the valley. It adds 5 miles to the trip and $2 million to the budget." "And what will you tell the board in D.C., Mr. Penhaligon?" Silas asked. Arthur looked at the limestone. now glowing in the soft Appalachian sunrise. He realized that for the first time in his career, he wasn't looking at his watch. "I'll tell them that some things aren't obstructions," Arthur replied. "Some things are foundations, and you don't build over a foundation, you build around it." The highway was finished a year later, a long, sweeping curve that preserved the quiet heart of Blackwood. And if you pass through there today, you might see a British man sitting on the porch of the general store, no longer checking his GPS, but simply watching the creek flow by. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. And is there a landmark in your hometown that everyone fought to save? Tell us the story in the comments.